What is up, ladies and gents? It's Master Hogan helping you master yourself. Today, I'm going to explain sort of an advanced technique to you on how to increase and maintain your mobility. It is called end range holds. It's exactly like it sounds, though it is not easy. It sounds like it is, but it is simple, but not easy. Those two are not the same. That is because it is rather brutal to go through. It works, but it is brutal and it takes a lot of grit and determination to make it through because it is kind of painful, some might describe it as. So bear that in mind as we go through this. This works best, in my opinion, for single joint movements, and that is because when you are looking at single joint movements and actions, muscle actions like that, it is not nearly as complex as multi-joint movements, such as like squat or something. So the restriction or limitation on single joints is sort of more linear than, say, something like a squat, like a multi-joint movement, because the restriction, for example, on a squat might be hip, ankle, and knee, whereas just the single joint movement of, say, heel to butt, knee flexion, is just a few variables. So, how do you do it? Like I said, rather simple. You simply move into your passive range as close to the end of your passive range as you can possibly get, and then you will hold that by some means, so hands, band, whatever it is, depends on the action that you're using, and try to actively engage the muscles that should be performing that action. From there, you're going to release whatever it is that's holding and try to maintain that active range. It's incredibly hard and you naturally won't be able to as much as when you were pulling, but the intention here is key. So you try to hold that as long as you can, and then just start over, work on it again. So as you could probably imagine by now, this is something that you have to work on over time, and it's going to take a lot of volume to make some gains. It's not something you can just sit down and it will work if you can do it once. You have to work on it over time. So like I was saying before, not easy, but simple. And also, intention is especially key. And this is because when you are doing this, you are actually priming your nervous system. You're training it in a way to say, hey, I want to be able to incorporate this passive range that I right now currently do not have to become available so I can access it. I want to make it mine from not mine. And that takes time, and it takes the training of your nervous system to become okay with that, so your body doesn't freak out when you're getting into those ranges that you currently feel like you're not able to get into. So, that said, this works best with things like ankle, plantar, and dorsiflexion, knee flexion where you're bringing your foot to your butt, even something like splits. In fact, I'll show you a few examples after this, but this is how I gained and maintained my mobility for splits, and it, in my opinion, is the sole reason why I can suspend myself on two objects on either side of me with nothing under my butt, and it's like I'm just sitting on the two objects which are out very far on the side of me, and I can just hold myself up. It's because my muscles are strong enough to hold myself actively in that full splits range, even when I'm suspended and I'm not sitting on anything. So, we'll see some examples here. We'll look at some knee flexion where you would pull your foot to your butt and then try to hold that. We'll look at some examples of dorsiflexion where you would put your foot up against a wall with your heels close to the crease of the wall as possible, and try to pull your toes so you're activating your anterior tib as much as possible. And we'll even look at some of these examples of splits where you would try to go into your end range as far or as close as you can to it, and then plant and try to open actively even more. As you could also probably imagine, because of the methods that we're using here, there is very high risk that you might cramp. So this also will play into how mobile you are right now. If you cramp, that's okay, but because there's a strong nervous system component to this type of training, you want to avoid associating the range that you're trying to gain with cramping. So that being said, if you do experience cramping, then I recommend that you train in this way so that you can overcome the cramping before you're trying to gain new range. Once you feel the cramping, or you have found that there's specific range where you always cramp, go up to that range, even if it's not the end of your passive or active range. Go up to that and then hold it for as long as you can before you cramp. Don't let yourself start to cramp, but before you cramp. So this here is very specific nervous system training where you're trying to overcome that and teach your nervous system that it's okay and it should remain calm when you go into this range. So do that, and over time you'll be able to overcome that cramping to the point where it will not even happen any longer. From there, then you can start training the ranges that you want to. If the cramping happens again, you just restart the process. So you never want to associate that new range that you want to gain with the cramping, because the whole goal of this is to increase and gain that range in active range of motion without or with as little restrictions as possible. So no need to yourself add another restriction if you already are restricted in that range. So this again is end range holds. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, follow, subscribe. Let me know if you want to see some other stuff. I'm Master Hogan, helping you master yourself. Happy training. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.